show was made possible by the VL Partners and with the continued support of BK8 Affiliate.
Howdy friends, and welcome once again to another edition of APCW Perspectives. And this week we're asking a very important question. Just how stupid can people actually be? I think the answer might surprise you. To find out, we only need to go back a few months as implementation of the Gambling Act review began to roll out. That's when this program, along with the Betting and Gaming Council, media outlets, and even operators, warned the UKGC and MPs of the consequences associated with implementing affordability checks. Did they listen? No. And the result? A surge in black market activity, with 64% of players who play at offshore sites said that these affordability checks were the reason they left the regulated UK market. We also warned them that increasing restrictions on deposit limits, game speed, stake limits, credit cards, and the like would negatively impact business. Did they listen? Of course not. And the result? British visitors to illegal offshore sites exploded by over 500%. Now, we're all warning them that their proposed gambling tax hike will increase the exodus of UK players from regulated British sites to the black market. And that it could backfire on them, the same way that the tax hike in the Netherlands backfired on them recently, creating a €200 million shortfall for that regulator. But will they listen? Almost certainly not. Instead, they've decided to double down on their stupidity, saying that we are fear-mongering, as if every word that's come out of our mouths and everything we've warned them about hasn't actually happened. How stupid are these people? You know, my friends, only politicians could be ignorant enough to ignore all the evidence, and only politicians would be arrogant enough to ignore all the people who have worked in this industry for decades, all in favor of their own agenda. However, in their defense, it is quite difficult to see clearly, and it is quite difficult to find a correct solution when all your little brain can fathom is your own re-election and political gains. There you go. Had a little tree sap stuck to my hand from our buddy back there, but we're good now. As we head into the second half of our show, I'm just going to keep my foot on the accelerator and move forward as we take a look at this story, which would seem to suggest that online slots in the United Kingdom are doing just fine. Amazing, in fact, despite all the new rules and regulations put on them from the UK Gambling Commission. But sometimes, my friends, sometimes you just have to dig a little deeper. First, let's consider the source of this information. How trustworthy are they? And does the source have a vested interest in the outcome? In this particular case, that source is the Gambling Commission themselves. So make of that whatever you will. But numbers can be misleading, so let's go through them together. While online slots were up a meager 2%, the volume of bets and spins were up 3 times that much, 6%, which indicates to me at least that Brits were betting more and playing longer. Plus, active monthly accounts over the same time period fell by 10%. So let me get this straight. While fewer people played, the ones that did play and bet were doing so longer, so much so that they jacked up the yield by 2% with fewer people. Now I ask you, does that sound like success to you? Do you think that's what the UKGC was shooting for? They've had a 500% jump in players moving offshore, and the ones that are remaining are betting more and playing longer. Kudos, guys. Mission accomplished. Still, these idiots say there is no threat from the black market and that we are the ones exaggerating. So I ask, are you beginning to grasp the depth of this sort of stupidity? People are out there who have had lobotomies that could do a better job and see this more clearly, but not them. They want to lump gambling in with tobacco and alcohol when it comes to how they regulate us and all our marketing restrictions, which I guess is okay. It's sort of the same way that we lump them as politicians in with payoffs and insider trading. And no section of our industry in the UK has been hit harder by these stupid restrictions than horse racing. All of the restrictions burdening players have resulted in £10 million being bet on the Grand National, all offshore. But the politicians, they just keep pushing forward with their agenda. I mean, their tax plans. So now, British horse racing is talking strike. They're actually taking strike action in protest. A move that the Betting and Gaming Council called a futile political gesture. Really. And here I thought they were our friends. You know what? Maybe it is. Maybe it is a futile political gesture, as they say. Maybe me running my mouth on this program is just a futile political gesture. But you know what? At least we're trying. At least we're doing something while the Betting and Gaming Council gets run over by the bullshit lip service of the politicians and the UKGC. And I'll close with that. I'll be back next week. We'll do it all again, you know, God willing. Hello, friends. I'm not going to show any bloopers this week. There were some, but I had to change the camera's position. You see how the sun's in my face here, but not so much here. Yeah, the sun kept jacking with me, and so I had to end up moving the camera. I had some great bloopers though. I was like, "You're never going to blah, blah, blah," and then I was like, "Oh damn!" And then I said a bunch of bad words, and then I came back and I did it again, and yeah, it was hilarious. I wish you could have seen them. They're funny.